in retrospect, when I look back, even one of the hardest seasons of my life, I'm actually thankful that I went through that. And it was a blessing in disguise. In the moment, it sucked. I'm not going to lie. In the moment, I was crying a lot and like just feeling lost. But in retrospect, it was a blessing in disguise, and it forced me to pivot in a direction that actually became one of the best things that ever happened to me.
We are Gold Ivy.
Our mission is to empower you to own and unleash your truth.
Stories of resiliency are gold, and ivy grows in hard places.
Those hard places are what create space for light to shine through.
You decide what works for your daily life and how to transform our lessons into your gold.
This is Ivy Unleashed,
a Gold Ivy production. Who wants to know what I discovered that's an absolute game changer with my hormones, stress level, and quality of my sleep? I am not one to talk about supplements, but after learning all about magnesium, I have to fill you in. In May of last year, I tested my hormones, and my doctor explained to me that most women are deficient in magnesium, how important magnesium is, and how the brand of magnesium matters. First, magnesium is involved in hundreds of biochemical reactions in your body. Cortisol regulation, take magnesium. Better sleep, magnesium. Muscle soreness and recovery, magnesium. Combat depression and anxiety, magnesium. The list of magnesium's benefits go well beyond those examples. I asked for the best brand of magnesium, and my doctor said hands down, Smidge. She prefers Smidge because it's super clean and made in small batches. No fillers or common allergens, and non-GMO. Smidge's magnesium is made with a premium form of magnesium called glycinate complex. After taking the 100 milligram capsule of Smidge Evening Magnesium every night for just a week, I noticed how much better I felt in the morning. Melatonin and other sleep aids can make me groggy or give me weird dreams. Smidge's magnesium has improved my energy levels, reduced my anxiety, and my digestive health has never been better. I do my best to take it every single night to keep reaping all the benefits. I'm telling you, Smidge Magnesium is a game changer. The majority of adult women are deficient in magnesium, and we don't want you to be one of them. To experience the health benefits of Smidge Evening Magnesium as soon as possible, go to getsmidge.com or find the link in the show notes and be sure to use code GOLDIVY10 for a 10% discount. That's getsmidge.com and code GOLDIVY10 at checkout, and let us know how great Smidge Magnesium makes you feel as well.
Hey everyone, Brooke here. One of my biggest goals for 2025 is to improve my energy, and I know I'm not alone in that. I also know I'm not alone in what I'm about to say next. Every morning when I wake up, the first thing I look forward to is my morning cup of coffee. What I don't look forward to is how much I rely on it to get me through the day and the stomach upset and crashes that come with it. I know it's hard on my hormones, energy, and stress levels, but man, is it a hard habit to break. Can anyone else relate? I want quick and easy, and I want energy. Saying goodbye completely to caffeine is out of the question for me, but trying it in a new way, that I'm open to. So let me tell you about my new obsession, everyday dose. Would you believe me if I told you my new morning cup of energy includes the following, and all in one simple scoop? We've got L-theanine, an amino acid that works to increase focus, balance insulin levels, metabolism, and lower stress and cortisol. We've got low acidity coffee extract, finally coffee that doesn't give me a stomach ache. Collagen protein to improve my gut health, skin, and nails. Chaga, a type of mushroom that supports immune system. And my favorite, lion's mane, a natural nootropic that helps reduce brain fog and boosts my mood. In addition to it being the easiest and most effective morning routine, it's free of artificial sweeteners, additives, mycotoxins, and mold. I feel at ease knowing what's going in my body, all while feeling energized, calm, and focused all day. Check out their coffee starter kit. It comes with free gifts every month like a frother, gunmetal spoon, breathwork app, and more. Join Andrew and myself as we start our year and all 365 days with Everyday Dose. Visit everydaydose.com/goldivy and get your coffee starter kit delivered straight to your door. Use our code GOLDIVY to get up to 30% off your first order.
And now to this episode of the Ivy Unleashed podcast.
Welcome back to Ivy Unleashed. Today is a fun day. We are celebrating International Dance Day.
Hey!
Andrea and I both grew up as dancers. Andrea's daughter, Cora, is a phenomenal dancer. And we are celebrating with the one, the only, Menina Fortunato. Menina, welcome to Ivy Unleashed.
Thank you so much. I didn't realize there's so much dance in your life as well.
So much dance. And we have a lot of questions about it. And like Brooke said, we've been dancers, so we have reflections of our time as dancers. And for those listening that have nothing to do with dance, this is for everybody because we love talking about mental health and just hearing people's stories and understanding kind of how anybody's story can play into how you take care of yourself, especially a woman like you, Menina, who juggles so much. You're a mother of 3 and you have 3 decades of experience in the dance world, which is just really fascinating. We see, the celebrities that you interact with and the different facets of dancing, whether it's being a dancer, a producer, a host, a podcaster, all of these things. And so just for our listeners that might not be familiar with you, can you kind of just tell us a bit about your life, your journey in this dance world and where you're at today?
I'll try to keep the short version. Yeah. We can be here all day. Well, I grew up as a dancer. I would say seriously since the age of 8 or 9. My father was actually my first dance teacher. There's kind of even a backstory to that. My parents met through dance as well. My mother was a choreographer at Club Med in Italy. She needed a dance partner. He worked there. He was cute. She was like, "You've got rhythm. I'm going to teach you how to dance for the shows." So they met, fell in love, moved to Canada, had me. So there was a whole backstory of dance. I wanted nothing to do with dance initially in my early years. I was like, "Ew, I don't want to take dance class from my dad." And it wasn't until my friend was like, "Let's take your dad's jazz class." And I was like, "Ew, yuck." And so I because of peer pressure, really, it was just a friend that wanted to take my dad's class. So I was like, "Okay, fine, I'll do it." Well, she quit 3 months later, and then the rest is history for me. And I at a very early age too, I was teaching dance at the age of 12 because my father owned a dance studio. So I had the opportunity to teach and make $40 an hour at 12 while my friends were making $4 an hour babysitting.
That's a lot of money. $40 an hour as a 12-year-old?
And that was like a long time ago.
Yeah.
Over 3 decades ago. So at that time, I don't know what the equivalent would be today, but it was a significant amount of money for a young person. And then I was teaching at other studios by the time I was like 16, 15. And then I was also starting to get paid dance jobs around 16. I was a competitive dancer also, but then I kind of retired from that life around 15, 16. My mother started a dance competition when I was 13. So I was building her dance business with my dad's dance studio. So I had like business education really young with both parents' dance businesses. But after high school, I went to university. I hated it. I dropped out of college. I told my mom and dad, I was like, "You know what? I have my own aspirations and dreams. I don't want to be here anymore. I want to move to LA, pack my bags, move with my car, my clothes, a big dream into North Hollywood to a little apartment."
I just can't imagine doing that. Like you hear this about people that have made it, but like you just packed up and left.
Well, it wasn't a spontaneous thing. So let me backtrack a little bit.
Okay.
I at 16, I got a scholarship to train in LA. And that was kind of the pivotal aha moment of like, "Mom, actually, I want to live here. This is where I want to create a career." And she's like, "Yeah, whatever. That's cute." Every kid talks about they want to go to Hollywood and, work in TV and film and all this stuff. But I was serious. And I remember at 18, when I again was visiting LA, I met with an immigration attorney and I was like, "So how do I immigrate here? Because I'm Canadian." So there was a whole work visa situation. I didn't know anything about immigration. And he's like, "Oh, my fees are $2,000. So I'm like, "Mom, Dad, I need $2,000 for an immigration attorney." They're like, "Are you nuts?" I'm like, "I'm 18. Like, what do I know about this stuff?" And they're like, "No, you're not doing that. No." So I was like, "Fine." So I went behind their back. I saved my own money from teaching. I hired this attorney and it took me a year to gather all of my materials because I had to prove it's an O1 visa. I had to prove to the U.S. immigration that I was in the top 5% in the industry at like 18, 19 years old, which I had obviously some professional experience, but it wasn't like a substantial amount, but I was good at marketing. So I was able to package a beautiful package that obviously convinced an immigration officer that I was good enough to be in the U.S. And then the summer before I moved, a friend of mine introduced me to an agent. I was just in the office with him, and she's like, "Oh, this is my assistant. She's choreographing this project with me." And then the agent was like, "Who are you? Where are you from? Like, do you live here?" And then I was like, "Oh, no, not yet, but I would like to." He's like, "I really like your look. Here's my card. If you ever need an agent and move out here, I'd love to represent you." I was like, "Sweet." So, well, that happened. A year later, I moved. So there was a lot of like preparation leading up to the big move. I didn't just like irresponsibly just pack my bags and go. I did have $5,000 saved for, at the time, I thought it was great because my rent was $350. I was prepared to work, to live in LA without work. I was prepared to I had no expectation, to be honest. I was just hungry, and I had, the moment I hit the ground running, I was like, told my agent, I'm like, I'm here, haven't unpacked yet, but I can go to auditions. And within that first month, I was direct booked with Paula Abdul, who was like my teen idol. So that was really cool.
Gosh.
And then the following month, I went to a Britney Spears tour audition. There was like hundreds of people, this 2-day grueling process. Nobody knew me. I kind of knew the who's who because I've been studying who they were, but they didn't know who I was. I made it to the final cut of that audition. I did not book the tour, but that audition booked me a Pepsi commercial with Britney Spears that ended up airing on Super Bowl. And if you know anything about commercials, you want a Super Bowl commercial.
Yeah.
They pay really, really well. And that was like my first 2 months in LA. Paula Abdul, Britney Spears.
You're like, I think I'm going to stay.
I'm on something here. I think, and I mean, I can't say the rest is history, but I could jump a little bit. For 16 years, I lived in LA, and that was where I had the high of my dance career was there. And then moving on, I worked with Beyoncé, Earth, Wind & Fire, ZZ Top, Carmen Electra, MC Hammer. I was on America's Got Talent, Star Trek Enterprise, Mad TV. And then I kind of started after baby number one. So my husband and I had baby number one, and that kind of derailed my career a little bit because I was like, oh, okay. I was on tour. So I was dancing till 4 months pregnant until my little baby bump started showing. And then they fired me once they found out I was pregnant. Oh. So that was a whole other episode. And then I created a whole prenatal dance workout when I was pregnant. I was like, well, nobody's going to hire me, so I'm just going to create my own opportunity here. Wow. And then after baby number one, I thought I could go back to my old life, and quickly realized I'm like this whole like breastfeeding, pumping, and like I was like breastfeeding in the car, and my husband would come to auditions, and I go audition, and then I'm like leaking milk, and then I'm like I'm not there. I'm thinking of baby, and I'm like, okay, this isn't really working. And then trying to find a babysitter just so I go in an audition, but I don't know how long it's going to be. So I'm telling the babysitter, I'm like, you might be here an hour, you might be here all day. I have no idea, and that was always a challenge. I'm like begging friends to babysit my kid because, that was a bit of a fiasco. So then I transitioned more in the production side. So I was like, I want to stay in entertainment, but this whole audition life is a bit challenging with a kid. So I worked on shows like The X Factor and America's Got Talent on the creative side, on the production side. So that was a little shift. And then I was a judge on Dance Moms, where I judged Judge Osiwa and Maddie Ziegler and all those kids. So I shifted. And then rewind. After my first child started kindergarten, I quickly realized, I'm like, I don't know if I want to raise a family in LA. I'm like, it's fun when you're young. It's fun when you, even without kids. But I'm like, this is not really a place where I want to raise my kids. So I moved back to Vancouver, which is where I'm from originally. And I've been here since 2016. While I started a company out in LA producing dance events. So I've been like straddling both cities, both countries. I kind of still am. And then 2020 happened. So fast forwarding a little bit. 2020 happened, and that was a real huge wake up call. This is now baby number 3. Had lockdown baby actually April of 2020. I had my third baby. Wow. And I was prepared to stay home for 2 weeks. I was like, yeah, let's go. 2 months, sure, no problem, but not 2 years. And that was a real big shakeup because suddenly my entire life that I've only known, I couldn't perform, I couldn't produce events, I couldn't travel, I couldn't teach at conventions, I couldn't judge dance competitions, I couldn't do anything. So I was stuck at home with 3 kids and 2 dogs and a husband, thinking like I was meant to talk about mental wellness. I was going crazy. My mental health was not in a good state because I was like, like I felt like I lost my identity.
Mm-hmm.
Felt like I was going through some midlife crisis. At the time I had just turned 40. I was like, what am I going through? I'm like, is this a midlife crisis that my mom went through too? I'm like, who am I? What am I doing with my life? And my parents were like, well, Menina, maybe you should just go get that 9 to 5 job and become a French school teacher. There's a shortage of French teachers because I'm French Canadian as well. So I'm like, no, I don't want to teach French. And I'm like, and they're like, oh, but you get a pension. I'm like, no, I don't want any of this stuff. I'm like, I want dance and I want to figure this thing of dance. And then fast forward a little bit, 2022 came around. I finally was able to produce a dance event again. And then I had this crazy idea of creating an online coaching program, a mentorship program for dancers to help them with their careers, which I call the business of dance. And that was born in the summer of 2022. And then shortly after, I started the podcast. And now I've built a 7-figure business from the comfort of my home, doing what I love and serving dancers around the world who are now chasing their dreams. I've had kids that were in Super Bowl with Usher, Rihanna, Kendrick Lamar, cruise ship contracts, Royal Caribbean, commercials for Walmart and Ford, signing with agents. So now I'm in this like maternal phase of my life where I'm giving back to the next generation, showing them the ropes, if you will, and so I can fast track their success and be the mentor that I didn't have.
Yeah.
And that's where I am today.
I love, as you're telling your story, you're showing how you pivoted in each season of life to still be a mother, to prioritize your mental health. And I think that's beautiful, of not staying stuck or saying, I'm going to figure it out. That's all I'm hearing as you're speaking. And I'm also hearing you are hustle, go, 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 like maximize. And we know the dance world, there's perfectionism, there's comparison. So as you pivoted and, transitioned throughout your years in dance, how was that juggle with your self-worth and your mental health and comparison, but still striving for excellence?
It's funny because I feel like I had a little bit of naivety because even though I knew I was never the best dancer, even as a competition kid, even as a professional. And I knew that, but I was okay with that. Like I didn't feel less than. I felt like I still deserved a spot here. I still had my own lane. And there was moments where I could say I'm a recovering perfectionist, but since becoming a mother, that's like completely out the door. I'm like, I have just accepted that life is messy, and I'm just going to accept that. And it's okay. It's going to be imperfect. And, the body changes through motherhood, and it is what it is. And, your lifestyle changes, and there's a lot of, like, my motto is like kickball, change and pivot, because my entire life has literally been that way, not just, literally in the dance world, but figuratively as well, because as you said, there's been a lot of pivoting. There's been a lot of reinvention. There's been a lot of like hitting dead ends and going, okay, well, this path isn't working. So let me go turn left or turn right and figure this out. It's like life is a dance, like you're constantly, trying to maneuver and find your way. But yeah, I the only season of my life I genuinely felt mentally like just not in a good place was 2020 to 2022. That's honestly the only time in my life where like I've never like suffered from depression or anything like that, but I went through this identity crisis where I was like, what am I doing? Like, am I worthy of being in this dance world anymore? Like, am I meant for something else? There's a lot of self-doubt. And I went through, it was just a very very humble, period of my life. And, I was going through all the emotions. I was angry. I was angry at the world at one point where I was like, I can't do what the government won't let me do what I want to do. And I was even thinking like, what could I do from the comfort of my own home that if the world goes crazy again, that I could actually still make a living doing what I love. And that's really important to me, is monetizing my passion. And I think that's also why there has to be joy in everything that I do, because I don't want to be, and never wanted to be, that person that hates going to work, that, clocks in and clocks out and is unfulfilled. And I'm like, well, I'm just here to, put food on the table or make a paycheck. Like, I love what I do. And that's, I think, what was so challenging for those 2 years is I couldn't do what I love to do. And I tried. I mean, I worked out with my baby and danced in the, my bedroom, like for my own mental wellness. You talk about mental wellness. I'm like, I gotta dance. Like it's therapy for me.
Yeah.
Dance really is therapy. It's a business, but it's also therapy for me. So, if you're having a bad day, you always feel better after dancing, whether you're dancing at a professional level, like even performing on big stages. Like I could have a really rotten day, and the moment I hit that stage, there is these, like, I guess these hormonal things that are happening in your body, and these oxytocin level. I don't know what it is. I don't understand the science behind it, but I always feel good after I'm done, and I think that's also the beauty of dance and why I've had it in my life. No matter what I've been going through in life, I always felt good dancing. It always made me happy. So that was my drug of choice. That was my medicine of choice. That was what kept me going and kept me motivated and driven, and why I was so stubborn for 2 years, insisting that I figure out a new path that still involves dance in some capacity. It just looks a little bit different. And I think, but I do acknowledge and recognize that, especially in the dance world, because we are taught to correct, like technically. Yes. It's always like point your feet, knees straight, turn out, shoulders back, chin up, and although I was raised with that, so maybe I just don't know any different. So I am critical of myself, and I can be critical of others, but I don't see it in a negative light, though. I'm able to acknowledge, I'm like, okay, this doesn't look right. Let me fix that. And I know my own limitations too. I was never the kid that had the beautiful long leg extensions and could bend myself in half and naturally flexible. That was not my gift, and that's okay. And I accepted that. So yeah, the whole perfectionism thing, I've completely let that go.
I love that. I think that's refreshing to hear because, like Brooke mentioned, I have a daughter that's in competitive dance, and it's constant feedback and constant, fix this, not good enough type of thing. And you have to be able to compartmentalize. Like, that doesn't mean that I'm less than, or that it's something personal, right? Because she's doing a solo for the first time and getting 8 different teachers' feedback, right, to help her for when she does perform. So it's an awesome process to help her. But as her parent, I'm like really trying to make sure she understands, like, this is about your dance. This isn't about who you are as a person. So how do you separate that? I mean, and I'm not even just thinking dance. I'm thinking you as a person who's pivoting in your career, trying to land a gig, trying to become the host of something, trying to become the producer of something and land this thing. What is that like for you to not take things personally when you don't get it, or when you get rejection, or, whatever else comes in that territory?
Well, dance definitely taught me a lot about rejection and mental toughness that honestly I'm grateful for. And I don't know exactly what your daughter is experiencing, but as long as she's in a nurturing environment, all of the feedback is a beautiful thing, in my opinion, because striving to improve is a good thing. Striving to be perfect is impossible, but we have to accept that we will never be perfect, and that's okay. But striving to always be the best version of yourself, I think is a great thing. Rejection, I dealt with so much of that growing up, because in competition dance, as I'm sure sometimes you win, sometimes you don't. Now, in my generation, there was no participation trophies like there are today, and the gold, silver, platinum, ruby, titanium, double, whatever, diamond. I can't even keep track of all these ridiculous awards now. But now I actually have a different perspective. Now I actually find that kids today, and this is also happening in sports, we're giving them milk and cookies and too much of it, where everybody always walks away feeling a winner. And guess what? Life is not always winning. Sometimes you have to understand and learn how to lose. I like to say, you win and you learn. And I learned a lot growing up. And, there was many dance competitions that I never placed. And I cried about it, and I got over it the next day. And I kept back in the dance studio. And actually that made me hungrier to want to work harder. And the fact that I did deal with not winning all the time, I think that also allowed me to make that leap and start a new life and follow my dreams, because I was used to not literally, but, getting punched in the face, falling over and get back up again, because that's life. There's going to be seasons of your life where you're going to feel like you're being beat up, not literally, but, where mentally, where you're just like, okay, this is hard. But then you remind yourself, I can do hard things. I have that thick skin. Now, of course, you gotta have moments to like release it, cry it out, dance it out, do whatever you gotta do. I always let myself, once I sleep on something, I'm usually fine the next day. And that's been honestly a pattern my entire life. So I never really dwelled on things for too long. But yeah, I mean, even in business too, like learning to deal with rejection. If anybody's listening that's a business owner, we all know it's not sunshine and rainbows every day. There's a lot of challenges. Motherhood. Anybody that's a mom can also understand motherhood's messy. There's always a new set of challenge. So you have to become a problem solver. As a business owner, you are literally solving other people's problems. Whatever your service or product, you are solving a problem. So becoming a problem solver and understanding that, yes, life can be hard, and yes, challenges will come your way, but you can do hard things and you will overcome them, and have that mental toughness and that mindset that it's okay. And it's okay if you don't always have the answers. It's okay if you don't always have it figured out. It's okay if it is messy. That is a part of the human experience. We are flawed. We are growing. We are learning. But honestly, the more defeat and the more loss that we experience, the stronger that we become and the more resilient that we become. So in retrospect, when I look back, even one of the hardest seasons of my life, I'm actually thankful that I went through that. And it was a blessing in disguise. In the moment, it sucked. I'm not going to lie. In the moment, I was crying a lot and like just feeling lost. But in retrospect, it was a blessing in disguise, and it forced me to pivot in a direction that actually became one of the best things that ever happened to me.
Keeping the flu and common cold out of your household is important whether you're 5, 35, or 95. And we're going to tell you the easiest and most delicious way to do just that. It's with All Things Elderberry, a woman-owned business that has all-natural, vegan-friendly, and gluten-free elderberry products.
And when we say products, we mean a variety of delicious and beautiful products, not just for you, but for your entire household to get an immunity boost. If we had to pick our favorite product, I'm going with organic elderberry gummies. My kids are obsessed. We're trying to avoid sickness from school and make sure they can participate in their sports. So they take one every morning before they brush their teeth. They think the gummies taste like a mix of grape and cotton candy. I tried them too, and I can see why they ask for them every day. I love that they're boosting their immune system at the start of their day.
My favorite All Things Elderberry product is the elderberry green tea paired with the elderberry honey. The green tea gives me a midday boost, and the honey gives the tea extra sweetness. I also put the honey in my morning coffee instead of creamer. So good. All Things Elderberry is my solution for staying healthy before traveling, avoiding frequent colds and sinus infections, really just maintaining my health all year round.
What sets this brand apart from the others is there are no artificial additives in All Things Elderberry. Their elixir is made with organic, Missouri-grown elderberries, raw honey, and whole spices.
Elderberries not only help with immune support, but may also slow the aging process with their powerful antioxidants, improve skin health, and can shorten the duration of severity of colds and flu.
Visit allthingselderberry.com to explore their full range of immune-supporting products. Stay healthy and feel your best naturally. Use our code GOLDIVY at checkout for 15% off your first order. That's code GOLDIVY at checkout for 15% off your first order.
We're coming at you with important information, warnings, and a solution. Sharing health and wellness gold with you is what we do. And so when we learned alarming information about devices that we routinely use, and we know you do too, we have to share it with you.
What most people don't realize is that the electronic devices we're using, cell phones, Wi-Fi, laptops, and Bluetooth, emit electromagnetic fields, or EMFs. The devices we're holding by our brains, on our skin, by our reproductive parts are emitting EMFs, and prolonged exposure to EMF radiation has been associated with potential health concerns, including neurological effects, impacts on reproductive health, and sleep disturbances.
Those studies alone are a cause for pause. but also the International Agency for Research on Cancer that operates under the World Health Organization has classified non-ionizing EMFs produced by electronic products like cell phones, smart devices, and tablets a possible human carcinogen. Yikes.
And our solution? Safe Sleeve. Safe Sleeve anti-radiation products are designed to give you peace of mind of knowing you and your devices are protected while making your devices even easier to use. All of their anti-radiation products incorporate their lab-tested shielding technology that can block over 99% of RF and 92% of ELF radiation. And that's important because the vast majority of products that claim to block EMF radiation either don't have any testing at all, or they only block a small portion of the harmful frequencies.
We absolutely love the sleek look of these stylish products. They come in a variety of styles and colors. For our phone cases, I picked black, Andrea picked tan, and they include a built-in wallet with RFID protection and a magnetically detachable inner case. They're also anti-radiation products for tablets, iPad, and laptops.
We are pumped because we have been looking for a brand to help protect ourselves and our loved ones from this radiation for months. My kiddos have the iPad cases. Searching for a brand with stylish phone cases, colorful iPad colors, and functional headphones for our workouts, so that we can enjoy our devices, but also not have to worry about how they're harming us.
And without a doubt, it's time to protect ourselves. Grab your Safe Sleeve phone case today and any of their other groundbreaking products at safesleevecases.com and use our code GOLDIVY for 15% off.
And sometimes, am I allowed to swear on?
Yes.
Fuck yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure because I keep my podcast PG because I have kids. But
Fair.
But sometimes the shit needs to happen in order for the shift to happen. You know, sometimes you have to have that breakdown to have that breakthrough. So sometimes you have to go through those hard seasons of life to appreciate when the good happens, to get innovative too. You know, when you look back on your hardest times in life, there was probably a really big learning lesson that came out of it. And if you didn't learn, it probably happened again and again until you did.
Yeah, I think it requires though patience, right? Even when this happens, like this last weekend, a very small thing happened, but I had to cancel plans with my best friend that I was looking forward to for months. And I think in the moment, you have to be like, okay, there's going to be something good that comes to this. Like there's a lesson in this. There's a reason for it. And sometimes like in the moment you don't understand, you have to just be patient with, okay, this is going to mean something at some point. And like you said, make me stronger. But what I keep hearing and what you're saying is so much, and this is what I think is like the key to success, is just belief in yourself to persist, to keep going, to keep pursuing, to know that you can pivot and figure out a way. And so I'm curious where that belief comes from. And if someone doesn't really have that or like resonate with that, you know, how do you think maybe they could cultivate some more belief in themselves so they can keep going no matter what pivot comes in their way?
Well, I have to give credit to my parents. I always saw the resilience that they had. My mother especially was a great example. She had the 9-to-5 job working for the government and the pension, and she hated it and she was miserable. And I saw that. And then she at 40 decided she wants to quit and start a dance competition and do something she loves. So I saw my mother go through the highs and the lows mentally herself. So I saw what I didn't want and I saw what I did want. So I learned at a very young age just by witnessing my parents and their own resilience. You know, I wish I had the answer for everybody when it comes to how do you develop that mental toughness and that resilience and that your belief in oneself. But I think that everybody has a superpower. I think everybody has a gift. Whatever that might be. And once you find that gift, really nurture it, because, you know, everybody thinks differently, has different talents, different passions, different interests. But when you really find that thing that makes you tick and you realize that you are special and you realize that you are gifted and that you are talented and that whatever that thing is, and really nurture that like a plant, you know, like if you plant that seed, water that baby and let it grow and let it blossom. Because I do finding your real true purpose and what legacy you want to leave on this planet and what kind of life do you want to live? And if you're a parent, what kind of example do you want to set for your kids? You know, like I think we are as a society, I see a lot of people just going through the motions of life.
Mm-hmm.
And, it makes me sad sometimes to see that. And I really do want to motivate others. Now I'm doing it in the dance space, but even in the business space, I've talked to a lot of business owners and really just encouraging them, like, it's okay. It's okay that you don't have it figured out. It's okay that you don't feel great today. It's okay that you don't know exactly where you're headed. But just believe that it will work out one way or another. Just keep putting one foot in front of the other. And sometimes you can't really connect the dots forward, but you can only look at them connecting the dots backwards. And when you really look back and go, oh, wow. So if that didn't happen, I wouldn't be here. And sometimes those hard times is what led you to the beautiful thing. Whether you're meeting your life partner or whether you're finding your dream job or creating your dream business, there was probably a bit of a shit show that led you there. And so when you're in those hard seasons of life, I also say take care of yourself first too. You can't pour from an empty cup, especially if you're a mompreneur. That's what, we have hard jobs, to be there for our clients and for our team, but equal for our families. And we do have to take care of ourselves, because if we don't feel good about ourselves, we can't perform at our best in what our jobs and our business or our personal lives. So whether it's eating healthy or getting outside and getting some fresh air or doing some type of activity for fun that you enjoy, for me, it's always dance. Getting connected with nature, or just being socializing with a good friend and having, a warm, cozy hot chocolate by the fire and crying out over something, just remember to have those moments, and be able to take care of yourself during those hard times, and know that it's going to be okay, and that this is temporary. That's another thing. Everything is temporary. Even the highs are temporary. Mm-hmm. So if you're in a low state, know that this is temporary and you have the ability to take yourself out of it. Now, it may not happen as quickly as you want. You might not have the answers in that moment. But eventually you will get the clarity that you need to figure out, okay, let me try this way. Let me try that way. But yes, you do have to believe in yourself, because if you don't believe in yourself, then it's hard for others to believe in you. Mm-hmm. So whether you're trying to find that life partner, whether you're trying to sell a service to a client, whether you're trying to sell yourself to, book that, get that dream job of some kind, you have to have the confidence as well to step into the world so that people can see your greatness. Mm-hmm. Because if you're hiding in a cocoon like a turtle, nobody gets to see, the beauty and the gift that you bring to the world. And surround yourself with people that lift you up as well. I think we're social creatures. So if you're alone a lot while you're going through these hard times, find a friend, find a family member, find somebody that you trust, that you can connect with, because human connection is so important. I think that's another reason why I was mentally really struggling during that time, is because I felt disconnected from the human connection. It was like nobody wanted to see each other. Nobody wanted to touch each other. Nobody wanted to hug each other. And I did. And that's why I was like struggling, because I'm like, what do you mean I can't see you? What do you mean I can give you a hug? What do you like, why? I didn't understand. I was like, why is the world going crazy? And I'm like feeling like I'm the only one that's normal that's left anymore.
Yes.
And I was getting angry. There was a lot of emotions that were coming out. I was like getting angry. I'm like, why? Like, come on. And I know that everyone has their own opinions about what happened in that time of our lives, but it was hard for me. I'm not gonna lie. It was a really challenging. You talk about mental toughness. That was very, very tough.
Mentally and physically, when you don't feel well, it's very hard to have that belief, that confidence when you're exhausted. And I think about what you're saying, juggling so many different roles. A lot of women listening can relate. And then there comes the topic, the buzzword of burnout. So needing to, yes, take it one step at a time, but also knowing when you have to take it a step back. So in your career, what kind of healthy boundaries did you have to set, and do you still stick to these days?
Well, I like to do a day of self-care every now and then. So if I even like a simple spa day, I love, a massage or a facial, or go to the sauna or the steam room. If I'm going to a sunny place like Hawaii, which I'm going to be in a few hours, I love a beach. I love some direct sunlight, some vitamin D. Those are kind of my things, my go-to things.
Do you have any like energetic boundaries, like things like to protect with, especially being an entrepreneur, the emails are always coming, the phone calls are always coming, the requests are coming. There's an endless list of things that you could be doing. Like, how do you protect your energy when it comes to managing all of those things?
I struggle with that. I'm not going to lie. It's very hard for me to turn things off. I think my brain especially is always working a mile a minute.
And well, it's tough when you love what you do too, because you love it. Like, so you want to keep doing it.
Maybe I have ADHD or something. I don't know. I've never been diagnosed, but my brain does not stop. Like if you look at my computer, I have a million windows open. Like I'm always like, like I'm a squirrel, like half the time. So until I rest my head on my pillow and actually shut down, that's the only time I can honestly say where I like turn off. Like I genuinely turn off. With this day and age of like notifications on phones, it's like, it's really hard to like not look at it. And I'm not very good about, I will look at it right before I go to bed and make sure that there's no urgent message that I need to get to. So that is something I'm working on. But there's times where I'm like, do I need to shut it off? Or like, but I'm like, no, yes, I do. No, I mean, sometimes even with my own family, I'll be like, hey guys, mommy is like in a zone. Can you leave mommy alone for like this hour? So I can get some work done. And I enjoy my quiet time sometimes in the car rides if I'm by myself, which is not very often, but I'm usually driving kids around. But I mean, I do have to say no to things. I can't say yes to everything. And sometimes it's social things. Sometimes, I can't go to every birthday party. Sometimes it's, I can't stay up late tonight. I have to get up early in the morning or I have a flight to catch or, so I do have a tendency to say yes a lot. So saying no is a hard thing for me because I want to do everything and I don't only have 24 hours in a day. So like even my today, if I could give you a rundown of what's about to happen today, you'd be like, why are you here?
Yeah, I know. I'm like, her head is probably spinning. She's going to Hawaii. When you're on your trip, do you shut down completely? How do you navigate that while you're traveling?
No. Here's the thing. I have an unpopular opinion. I don't necessarily believe in work-life balance. I know like people that can go to work and like shut everything off at 5:00. I cannot do that. Even when I'm quote unquote on vacation. Like I told my team, I'm like, I'm not in front of my computer as much, but I will be, checking Slack on my phone and communicating with my team. I don't completely shut off. Yes, there are moments of if I'm on vacation that I'm like, well, obviously I'm not gonna, if I'm swimming in the ocean, there's nothing happening at that point. But I think I've created that lifestyle that I want to be able to work when I travel. So, and I honestly would rather stay on top of things than to completely turn off and then come back to like thousands of emails to get to. Like that would just make my head spin. I'd rather just maintain. And if it's just at the end of every night, just to go to my computer and check my team messages, my client messages, check my emails, get that done, and then go to sleep. And then I can enjoy the next day on vacation. I'll do that. But I don't like to like shut it off for too long because then I just come back to more work that makes my head spin even more. And then I miss things. And so,
which could be more stressful. Yeah. I think everybody like we want this work-life balance, like advice that's going to be like, yes, that is the way. But it's just that you have to do what works for you.
And there's no one way to your point. Like you can ask every entrepreneur, every mother, they're going to tell you a different answer. And most likely it's what they found works for them and keeps them sane.
In that chapter too, because it changes. Like it's completely different. Like my kids keep growing and it keeps changing like when it works for me to find time to work. And so I think that's something I feel like everybody should take home is like, we can hear how people do it, but like take what works for you and leave the rest. Because in this chapter, it might be really tricky because you might be exhausted or midday's the only time or nighttime's the only time or whatever. But it's great that you love what you do and that it fires you up. Like you found that thing. And I always feel bad for people that don't know what that is. And I think just thinking not letting it overwhelm you that if you haven't found your purpose, if you haven't found your thing, but more like what lights me up or what kind of just comes naturally to me that like other people tend to ask me about, that's probably your thing, the thing that you can nurture more and more. Because I think that's great advice of not having to be this big thing that just lands on your lap. It might be just like this little thing and you water it and you just start to see what comes up for you.
Yeah, I don't think it ever slaps you in the face. I don't think it's ever something like you just have like you wake up one morning, you're like, I'm going to be an astronaut. And like it just doesn't. I feel like there is little instances in your life. You got to listen to those clues and pay attention to those clues. And like as you said, if people keep asking you for advice for a specific subject in life, well, maybe there's something there. Or if there's something that maybe there's something on TV that you love watching cooking shows, whatever. If there's just something that lights you up, like pay attention to those signals. And if you wanted to do it as a profession, as a career, then figure out how to monetize it as well. Not every passion can be monetized in a big way, but I do believe there's always a way to figure out what that. I mean, I think everybody has a gift. I think maybe just you got to pay attention to your intuition, that there is something that brings you joy. There has to be something in life that brings you joy. And otherwise you're not human. You don't have feelings. Like there's got to be something that lights you up. And whatever that thing is, then start to brainstorm on ideas of how you could potentially monetize it, how you could incorporate it in your life, whether it stays a hobby or whether it turns into a profession. And then if you wanted it to be a profession or a business, how do you do that? Seek the help and the mentorship and the coaching and the education in order to actually get those things. Because when I was 12, I remember telling my parents all the time, Mom, Dad, I'm going to be rich and famous. They're like, yeah, whatever. Now, my first solo was to Prince, Baby I'm a Star. I had stars on my costume. So like, I had the mindset I was at this mindset at a really young age that even my own parents thought I was like, kids always say a lot of cute things. You're like, yeah, whatever. Yeah. But I meant it. Like I genuinely meant it. Like once I found that thing, which was dance, I really meant it. And I really wanted to figure out, I didn't have all the answers. I didn't know what it would look like. And I didn't even really have an example per se. Even in my own surroundings of what life could be like. I had to carve my own path. And yes, there was a lot of naysayers around me. There were people that fed doubt, their own fears and their own limiting beliefs onto me, and I think sometimes that kind of fueled me because I'm kind of the mindset of like, fine, watch me. And that drives me. If you doubt me, then it drives me to actually not to prove you wrong, but to show you like, yes, I can. If you say I can't, watch me.
And that self-belief is so contagious. For anyone listening who hasn't yet figured that out and they're in that kind of just being curious, surround yourself with people who know what they're doing because it will light something within you. And I'm thinking of all of these girls and these boys, and young or just old, whoever your clients are, how lucky they are to get to work with you because you have that drive. You also have the wisdom and you care deeply. Like you can just feel that from this conversation. So for anyone who maybe wants to work with you or just wants to learn more about you, where can they find you? Plug all of the things, give the people everything.
Well, I'm pretty sure I'm the only Menina Fortunato on this planet. So if you do a quick Google search, you've got my website, meninafortunato.com. You've got my Instagram, Menina Fortunato, Facebook, Menina Fortunato. My business is bizofdance.com. And I also have an in-person event called the Hollywood Summer Tour, dancehst.com. And yeah, I'm pretty accessible online. And because I'm always checking my devices, I'm pretty responsive most of the time. Unless I'm, swimming on the beach of Hawaii, and maybe you won't hear from me.
And good for you. You deserve it. You deserve to go get in that ocean and unplug. And it's just so impressive, your body of work. I mean, truly go to her website and see all of the articles that you've been featured in the shows. Like you mentioned a lot of things, but it's beyond that. It is so impressive. And I love that you have a podcast too, that people can listen in, like, because there is a huge dance world and I'm a part of it here. And I'm friends with a lot of the business owners in Minnesota that run these dance schools. And it is, wow. I mean, you're probably speaking right to their souls right now with what they manage. And And what I see too with most of them is they really care about their students. And I've switched to a certain dance school because of the way that they take care of their students. And I think it is such a big job to care for these girls and boys and their self-esteem and their self-worth and their energy. And I just want to give a shout out to all the dance teachers that are truly making a difference. I know in my life, especially with Cora's switch recently to such an amazing school. Shout out Summit Dance Shop. Just the energy and the care that they pour into these kids. And so when I look at someone like you and all the big things you've done, I think about that, like the one-on-one touches you've had with all these girls and boys. And it's just so special and it shapes them. And I'm just so happy that we're able to talk with you and just scratch the surface of your work. So please
we could go on for hours.
Yes. But we always wrap up our show with 3 segments. One is 3 gold stars. So just 3 takeaways for our listeners that you'd like to share.
Well, a couple things that I said. Well, life is a dance. So just remember, sometimes you got to kickball, change, and pivot. And I think that goes not just for dancers, but in every aspect of our lives. Understanding that sometimes you have to have the breakdown in order to have that breakthrough and be able to come out the other side stronger, mentally, especially from where you are today. And follow your passion, whatever that thing is. Find your gift, find your talents, find that thing that makes you tick, that brings you joy. And whether you do it as a hobby or whether you do it as a career or a business, and surround yourself with people that lift you up and support you and guide you and mentor you and encourage you to be able to pursue those goals and dreams.
Beautiful. I love that. Oh, okay. Next segment, Unleashing Ivy. These are just some more questions we're curious about. I'm curious your experience with all of these celebrities and dancing for them and interacting with them. What has been like a learning lesson or a takeaway from working with them? Something that maybe surprised you or changed the way you do things based on interacting with a celebrity?
Great question.
Thank you.
You know what? At the end of the day, you realize that we're all human. They just make a little bit more money than the rest of us and maybe have more people that know who they are. And with that also comes challenges too. And they have hard days, just like you have hard days. It's different kind of hard. And I will say that there is a work ethic with most of them that they clearly love what they do as well. They wouldn't be doing what they are doing if they didn't love it. So there is a passion. And when you work with other high level performers like that, it sets the tone for the experience, for the job that you're working on with them. So you're around excellence a lot. And that also, I think, even helped me see that, okay, well, if she can do it or if he can do it, I can too. That also helped my own overcoming my own limiting beliefs. And when you actually spend time with them and get to know them and understand that they had those same fears that you did, they also had that self-doubt. They also may suffer from a little bit of recovering perfectionism. You know, they also too had people that tried to bring them down or had their own limiting beliefs and said that they couldn't do it too. And then they also had that self-belief as well to still do it anyways. So yes, it's fun to say, you know, all these fun names that, you know, I've interacted with and worked with. But at the end of the day, they're just people like you and I. They've just found their gifts and they've really been able to figure out a way to monetize it in a huge way. And I think there's a lot to learn from that as well. I think that, but it also goes back to, you know, if they can do it, I can too.
Yeah.
And that's the way you should look at anybody that's successful, rather than be jealous or rather than be resentful of like, well, they just had it easy because they're a celebrity. You know, no, there was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that I'm sure they had to deal with to get to where they are today. And I love the rags to riches stories when you hear of people that had very humble beginnings and they are where they are. So, you know, if it can happen to them, why not happen to you? So just believe in yourself that you also can achieve greatness on this planet, whatever those gifts are. And being around a lot of high performers in that regard expanded my mind to what's possible.
Yeah.
And saying, you know, like, well, if they have that, I'm going to have it too. If they can achieve that, I'm going to achieve it too.
I love that.
Good answer.
Yes. It's such a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. I love it. I keep hearing that so deeply in you. All right. My question is for the dancers, for the young dancers, because a lot of them, if they're in competitive dance or cheer, you know, whatever the sport is, it's like a full-time job. It's 4 or 5 days a week or more and hours and hours and hours. But if it's the thing they love and they're in the midst of it, what's your advice to them for becoming the best dancer they can without burning out?
Oh, that's a tough one. With dancers, you're absolutely right now, especially this generation, I think more so than mine. They are dancing like 20 to 40 hours a week and then competing on the weekends. And they are pushing themselves till late at night. And it's not easy. And I'm even struggling being a dance mom myself because I'm like, oh, that's a lot. So taking care of yourself so you don't get injured is really, important. You don't want to kill your body before you're an adult, taking care of your body and even doing some self-care. I don't know if I don't know if dance studios are even encouraging it these days, but, I love to see a chiropractor. If you can handle needles, I love acupuncture. I love a good massage. I love soaking in a hot bath with some magnesium salts and some Dead Sea salts and maybe some apple cider vinegar and some lavender oil and, being able to take that time to rest and recover. Rest and recover is so important for an athlete. Doesn't matter what type of sport or activity or art form, you do have to take care of your body. Otherwise, your body will shut down and that will lead to injury. So injury prevention is really important. Getting proper rest is really important. Nutrition is a huge key factor. I see a lot of junk food at these dance competitions sometimes. And the concession stands are not exactly helping with, a lot of the food choices. So if you're a parent that has a young dancer, do the best that you can to bring some healthy and, healthy snacks and healthy food and home cooked meals. If you can prepare something so that you can fuel the body. Like I'm not a big fan of the energy drinks and the protein bars that are full of like sugars and such and the Gatorades and all those things. Like I'm not a fan of that. I'm really, really, nutrition is so critical. And I think it's also critical with our mental health too, because if you're not feeding your body well, your brain also can't function optimally. So, rest, recovery, self-care, nutrition, and understand that it's okay to take a day off if you're not feeling good, and don't push yourself to the point where you break.
Yeah.
Dancers especially are very flexible and bendable and all of that, literally, but sometimes you might need that just one day just to sleep or just to rest.
But yeah, it's tough though, because if you have competition, like my daughter just had this, she had a fever and it was 2 days before her competition. And so she was trying to get better until she had to perform. And it's like, you don't want to let your team down. You don't want to let your school down. So I just I just feel for these dancers that I know are in the midst of grief or in the midst of an illness or in the midst of just trying to be getting through middle school and high school. It's just so challenging. And so my heart is with all those dancers.
No, it's not easy. I remember having like bronchitis and pneumonia and fevers on stage. And I did it. When I look back, I'm like, I wouldn't encourage that, but I did it at the time. But yeah, it is hard, especially when you have a team you don't want to let your team down. You don't want to let your teachers down. And, but if there is an opportunity that's not like, you don't have to compete, but maybe it's just a regular training day, maybe just give yourself a day off and excuse yourself and apologize to your teacher and be like, I just really need, to rest, because sometimes just that one night of good sleep or that healthy meal or that one like long bath, and you just feel like $1,000,000 afterwards. And, otherwise your body will force you to take a break. And that's something I've experienced myself. I always feel like around the holidays, around Christmas time, I always seem to get sick. That it's literally like I push, and then I find like, okay, I'm going to take a break now. And then my body just like collapses.
Yes.
Like, okay, we're going to get sick. And we're going to force you to stay home and not go anywhere. So if you don't give yourself a rest, your body is going to force you to give yourself a rest. So try not to push yourself to that extent. And I'm guilty of it myself. There's been several times. I always feel like it happens to me once a year, and it's always the winter time. Once a year where my body is like, okay, Menina, you're not doing these things anymore. You're going to take a break and you're going to go to sleep and you're going to.
It's a great reminder for everyone listening can relate to that. Okay, Menina, last question. If you could go back and tell younger Menina one thing, what age would you choose? What would you tell her?
Let me see. I'm trying to think of that. It's a good one. Well, I think maybe the 16-year-old self, the 16-year-old Menina that was bright-eyed and went to LA for the first time and was saying, Mom, Dad, I want to be here one day. And um, knowing that you can do it and you will do it and believe in yourself. And it's not going to be easy, but it's going to be okay. And all those crazy wild dreams that you had as a young girl, as the 12-year-old self, can and will come true.
Wow. Yeah. How powerful. But you had to figure it out, follow the breadcrumbs, have the ups, have the downs.
Kickball change and pivot.
I love that quote. That is so good. I'm so happy that you're a model for this and that you're mentoring people now, that you're helping these kids, you know, and I think too, having someone that's truly lived it, that isn't just like plugged in. I know people, I'll get you in with whoever. Like, you've been the dancer, you've been the person doing this, pursuing this, living it. And now you can, like you said, give back and help them, nurture them in the midst of this. It's so powerful and so cool. And so thank you so much for your time today. Happy International Dance Day, everybody. Menina's doing the work to keep dance alive. So happy, so grateful for you. And we always leave our listeners with a piece of gold or a quote, a piece of gold, which is a quote that's either your quote, which you've given it off someone already, that speaks to you. So would you sign us off with your piece of gold?
Oh, well, I think I kind of already said it, that life is a dance. And when life gets hard, just remember to kickball, change, and pivot. That's just like, that's what I live by. Like, it's literally my life as a dancer, but also my life as a human. And I think everyone can relate to that and can learn from that. Life is not linear. You know, there's always, it's messy. It's up and down. It's a roller coaster ride, and be okay with that. And just when you hit that next dead end, just kickball, change, and pivot.
This is Gold Ivy signing off.
Listen to your truth and go chase your gold. We want to thank you and encourage you to celebrate yourself for taking the time to learn and get inspired in your one beautiful life. And if this podcast means something to you, it would mean so much to us if you'd be willing to take 30 seconds to help support our mission to keep bringing you inspiring stories and guests.
First, following the podcast is important because it helps you never miss an episode. To do this, just go to the Ivy Unleashed podcast show page on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts, and then just tap the plus sign in the upper right-hand corner or click on follow.
While you're there, if you'd be so kind to give us a 5-star rating and review and share your favorite episode with a friend, we'd be so grateful for your support.
We are thrilled you're here and are so happy that you're taking time to prioritize your wellness, self-discovery, and growth with us.
The Ivy Unleashed podcast is produced in partnership with J. Gray Podcast Production.
Additionally, we want to remind you that this podcast is presented solely for educational and entertainment purposes. We are not licensed therapists, and this podcast is not intended as a substitute for the advice of a physician, professional coach, psychotherapist, or other qualified professionals.